Hi my sweeties, welcome to the second page. One of the questions I'm asked all the time in my reading room, when I'm out in the street, when I've done a show, just talking in general conversation is, do you believe in reincarnation? No, I don't believe in reincarnation. I know we are reincarnated. Later on, there's going to be a special episode associated to this photo here, this picture. Which obviously is a picture of me when I was much younger. In this picture, believe it or not, is 64 of my previous incarnations. Oh, I don't say things like that off the top of my head without being able to prove it. And you will see these later on. This has to be done on infrared, and she has to be left alone with the right music. And when she's in the mood, love, she will change for fun. So you'll be able to witness it. I don't need anyone to prove to me reincarnation. I have had it proven to me not only by this, but by everything I know. Now, I've never read a book in my life. Everything I tell you is not scripted. It comes straight from my soul, and it's what I know. Not what I believe, what I know. Yes, we are reincarnated. There is such a thing as reincarnation. Now, let's go back to when we're first born. It is a medical fact, and you can check it out, that the day the child takes its first breath, there's a valve in the heart opens and closes almost immediately. It never moves again until the moment of death, when you let out your last breath, so-called dying. This valve opens once more time and closes again immediately. So what's it taking in and what's it taking out? Now, if you want to call it the soul, the spirit, that's fine. I call it the microchip, because it will record everything we feel, think, do, see, everything. And this is what comes into your soul, to your heart, because that's where you feel everything, and this is what goes out, and this is the memory of you, of that incarnation you have done, all your experiences, goes into what is called cosmic pool, whatever you want to call it, the history, the Akashic records. It's there for everyone to dip into. After you've rested, after you have had time to adjust to being there, after you've been around and spoke to all your family, sorted yourself out, you know what you're doing, you can apply for a reincarnation. And you can go before a term, a body called the Lipika, for the want of a better word, the lip, the word. And you will say, I want to live the life. And let me tell you one I did. I was in India. And I died at the age of 48, and I died from a brain tumour. And it was a shame to die at 48, because if I made 49, it was the magic 7 ages of man. And you know what? I once walked into the Vishnu temples at 48-year-old. And you know what? They had an history on me. Oh yeah. I've had many people say I'm Boudica, reborn and a goddess. No. I was just a person in India, me. But they had a record on me, which totally convinced me. And I will tell you that story at a later date. So I know of reincarnation, because I was welcomed by a priest who said, hello, Paula, you come back. So, yeah. But get back to where I was, because I do get carried away with myself. When you go before the Lipika, you'll say, I want to live the life of John Bloggs, born such and such a time. Father, husband, brother, uncle, son. And I want to experience that life. And the Lipika will say to you, mind you, the Lipika are not living beings. Let's get this straight. They're archetype forms, very wise. And so they don't actually speak to you, because you haven't got a mouth to speak with. So we are talking spirit to spirit. But they can manifest themselves. So they appear as 5 in a row. Do you know, some people who are in meditation actually see these 5 in a row and ask me, what was that, Paula? And I said, oh, that was the Lipika. They're very important people, well, important archetype forms, let's put it that way, but let's refer to them as people. It's easier for you to understand that, because the mind cannot comprehend energy, so it will paint its own picture on it. So if you're looking at a vibration of 5 beings that actually help you to take your next life on this earth plane, you will paint your own picture and see them as 5 humans sat there. I hope you understand that. If not, just get in touch with me and I'll try and explain it even better. So they then say, have you seen this life? And you say, well, I've seen it in the Hall of Reincarnation, and they say, well, just hold on, and we'll show it you day by day. And you know, all in an eighth of a second or less, you live and feel every single moment of your life on this earth plane, doing that life. Even if it was to be cut short at 16-year-old or 11-year-old, you saw it. And you will say, I agree. And they say, okay, agreed. And then they do something very wicked. They stuff your head full of cotton wool or polystyrene and you plunge to the earth plane. Because if you did remember, you'd never do it. This is sometimes when a child is born and it emerges into the light, it goes, no thank you, and closes its eyes. It knows it's chosen something just a little bit too hard. Okay? Now, everything I'm saying to you is also interlinked with the word abortion, which we will talk about. And I'll take questions on it in a few moments. Okay? And there's a lot of pain associated to that. And I'd like to remove a little of that pain, please, if you don't mind, at a later date. So anybody out there who's ever had an abortion, be it a legal abortion, be it a backstreet abortion, you need to talk about it with me. You need to put your mind at rest. Okay, but back to what I was saying. Now, when you take this incarnation, the Lipika always say to you before you come, it's your life, but remember, we need you back here on the magic 7 ages of man. It's another information, isn't it? You like to know?
What are the 7 ages of man?
Does anybody here know anything about the 7 ages of man?
No.
I didn't think you did. Well, you do actually. Everybody who's listening to this knows something about the 7 ages of man. Even doctors know about the 7 ages of man. But they get lost after the physical, okay? So they say, and you're going to say, oh God, I do know. They say, baby to the child, 7. Child to the adolescent, 14. Adolescence to the so-called adult, 21. Rubbish, that's purely physically adult. That's where doctors get lost. The true adult is 28-year-old. And those who have passed the age of 28 know something really special happened inside their soul at the age of 28. Okay? 35. Identification syndrome. Before I'm a husband, before I'm a father, before I'm a son, or before I'm a mother, wife, daughter. Who the heck am I? 42. Okay? Magic 6, 7. 6, 7. Ages of man. Doctors know something happens here. They don't know exactly what happens, but they come back on the scene because they say life begins at 40. They don't know what they're talking about. But they know something happens because half the customers in their surgeries are, oh, poor me, little me, give me my uppers, give me my downers, oh, my children this and oh, that, my bones ache and all this. Okay, and the other half are, hello doctor, I'm fine, give me my HRT, can I have my blood pressure tablets? Yeah, I'm taking the water tablets, thank you very much, bye-bye. So half have made it, half have not. Between the age of 42 and 49 is one of the most important times of your life you will go through. And this states whether, when you go home to the world of spirit, you can come back and do another kind of life, or whether you can come back and do the same one you've just done. So listen very carefully to this because this is very important. Between the age of 42 and 49, remember what the Lipika said, remember to return. No, you're not going to die, as we'd all die for 49. But what it is you have to revert back to who you really was before you agreed to this life. Very difficult, right? You have 7 years to revert back. So how many of you have heard the words after the age of 42 by your partner or your family or your children or your friends? You're not the same person you used to be. Of course you're not. You've grown. And you are coming back to who you really was. The higher personality within you before you came onto this earth plane to agree to do this life as Joe Blogs, John Blogs, whatever you want to call it, you understand me, to experience that life. That life is only an experience. It is not you. The real you is the higher personality within you who has asked for this life to come onto this earth plane to experience that life. So you have between 42 and 49 to revert back, and you'll be amazed. Now, it's the hardest part of your life you will do, believe it or not, because you have to emotionally detach yourself from your family and your identification. Now, I didn't say leave your family, I didn't say desert them, I said leave them emotionally. And you have to look up and think, my children are not my children, the little arrows I've shot off my body, I love them to bits, but they have their life and I can no more change it than my mother could change mine. My partner is not my partner. Okay? He is a unique individual. I just happen to be married to him. I must respect him. I love him. But he can't stop me growing and reverting back to who I am. Because at the age of 49, you have to become who you were, because you're now out of your karma. You have no life map. You work it on your own from that day onwards. Now, some will survive. Give me my HRT, doctor. I'm fine, thank you very much. My blood pressure's a bit high, but that's great. And others will not make it, and they'll be in that doctor's surgery moaning, oh, I've got this, oh, I've got that. Now, make this, because after that, everything you do, you are responsible for. You say what your life is, you say where you go. When you eventually pass to the world of spirit, if you've done it well, you've absorbed the lessons from it, because life is just a learning curve, it's a school. Everything we do is an experience. And it's not forever, and it's not the end of the world. Don't worry if you don't get it completely right. I've blown it many times. This picture will tell you that later on. Okay? When you go back, you take the experience of that life you just lived, you put it into the cosmic consciousness, so everybody else can have the benefits of seeing that life, knowing what you did, knowing what you went through, and say, do you know, I'd like to do that one. Now, people come to me and say, what was I in a previous life? Do you do regression? Yes, I do regression. But what do you want to know about a previous life? You can't even control the one you've got at the moment. And does it matter what you was? You've not brought it through with you. And people say, but I think I was an Egyptian prince. That's rubbish. There was only 5 or 6 of them anyway. Let's try the peasant in the village, because that's what I was. Let's try the ordinary woman in the court, because that's what I was. I mean, there's nothing special about me. And I get very angry with them. And the only time I do regression on a person, okay, is when they have a terrible phobia about being burnt to death or drowning, and it's only come over from a previous incarnation of fear, then I'll do it. But if you just want to know who you are, well, when you can cope with the one you've got, I'll tell you what you was. But I'm not going to put you through that just to find that out. It's rubbish. Let's do it to find out what the next one is. The next life is important.
Paula, fascinating what you say. And again, many people have questions. I've just got one question. You mentioned the word path. And the question
In what
is,
context?
a life path.
Oh yes, life
path.
Life path.
And
yes.
one thing is, have you the ability to change it or adapt it?
Let's put it this way. I need a diagram to show you this one. When you're born, you're on a road, and you will travel that road, and you must be on that road the day you pass back to the world of spirit. I hate the word dead. I have to use it on here to explain, but I hate it. You can't do it. So you're on this road when you're born, and you have to be on it when it's time to go home. But this road, do you understand me, actually is only associated to the life you've agreed to live. You can still live after 49. You can still live. You can go on another 50 years. Some people do. It depends on if you want to or not. But during them 49 years, you're under karma. You're okay, fine. You're on this road and you have to follow your life map, which you've agreed to do and experience. You've agreed to marry this person. You've agreed to have these children. You've agreed to sort these problems. You've agreed to have these medical conditions. You've agreed to it all. So don't complain about it. Just do it. Nothing's forever. But on that path, we have what we call free will. In other words, if you want to go onto another path, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, fine. But you'll always come back onto the main road and keep going, no matter what happens. But if you move off onto a path and you want off it after 2 years, tough, because you've agreed to a 5-year span. So you will feel the effects of that for 5 years, even though you've got back onto the main road. And this is what we call our experience. This is why marriages last 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Do you understand me? Everything has a numerology with this, which is another thing we will talk about, you know, on the Wheel of Life at a later date. And you have to be on that road, and then it stops. And then you pave your own road. So they've taken the map off you of the life you've agreed to live, but they've not taken your life off you. So now you plan it. You do it. It's wonderful. It's called freedom. And you know, win, lose or draw, it doesn't matter, because you've just come out of school and that's your playtime. And you deserve that time, do you understand? You can do what you like. Always remember this though, your experiences will still be logged and listed on your command, on what you've agreed to do, what you've decided to do, will still be logged and listed and will still go into cosmic pot. So if you can imagine us going and say, that's the life I've lived, that's for the world, that's for everybody else who wants to see it, how I struggled with it, or I managed it, or I got through it. This is my experiences, this is my artistic abilities, this is my spiritual abilities, this is the beauty of my life. I wrote music, I preached to the world, you understand me? This is what I created. That goes into a separate pot. See, so everybody wants to live this life, says if you do this one well, you will achieve this, or it is possible for you to get this. If you fail on this, come back, you can go back and do it again, because that's the prize. That is the prize. It's called spiritual development. Do you understand what I've said?
Yes. So, in essence, Paula, I once made a statement to my children when they got to the age of 18, 21, 25. And I said, that's it now. I've stole my life for you. It's time that I won't. And don't be frightened that Dad will walk away. He's not walking away from you. He's walking where he has to.
That's right. That is when you left them emotionally, and you'll find you was very close to, or you was, at the magic 7 ages of man, 49, which is the agreement you made with the Lipica before you came here. Nothing is wrong on the other side. Everything is precise. There's no mistakes made. But you must understand this. Please don't take your life too seriously, because you have many to live. Many, many lives to live. Many experiences. And they're for your brothers and sisters as well as you. They go into a pot for them to see how you handled it. And they say, oh, I'd like to try that. I can do that. He did it. She did it. I'd love to do that. And you know, it's an adventure. I always think of life as an adventure. And I'll tell you something. You can't die for the life of you. You will be coming back. And you know I know that? Because you wouldn't be listening to this if you wasn't. Because basic first time in bodies do not listen to Paula Paradaema. Remember that. So if you're listening, you've probably been here at least 10 times. End of story.
Paula, that was fascinating. But you've given us something to think about. Wow. An adventure yet to come.
Oh yes. They reckon that Buddha had 864 lives before the Lipica agreed that he didn't have to come back here anymore. Bless him. They reckon there are 1,000 lives to live, and some can make it in 750, some can make it in 800, some have to go 2,000, you know, to get it right. It doesn't matter. There is no such thing as time in the world of spirit. Eternity. It is eternity. And you've got plenty of time. But remember this, every time you do well in a life you've agreed to live, we don't come down here in units of 10. We come down here in groups, and we're overseen by a guardian angel. And your efforts putting in your life actually go to the group pot. So everything you do which is right, and which is good, and which is learning, helps the other. Well, it's 240 we come down in groups of. You may never meet most of them, but they're there working. But it's a group effort, and it all helps them. So do your best you can. And if you feel as if you're failing, there's no such thing as failure. It's not what happens to you, it's how do you feel about it. Think about what I've just said. How do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? Well, I'll tell you in another 50 lifetimes. Thank you.
You're welcome.